So we've entered the month of February. We're hitting the late winter market here in central Maine. Now some patterns are emerging that might give us a little indication of what's coming for the spring market up ahead. Whether you are a seller that's looking to maximize your profit in this market, whether you're a buyer looking for the best way to negotiate a deal, stick around. You're not going to want to miss this video. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is Central Maine's realtor Nick Isgro with eXp Realty, and today we are going to break down all of the statistics and give you a little bit of sense of what is happening in the market as we shift into the late winter market. Maybe we're going to get a little indication of what happens in the spring. And then of course, at the end of this video, we're going to break down what it all means for you so that you know how to best navigate this particular market. Now, before I get into any of that, I want to welcome you here to the channel. If you've never been here before, we cover all things real estate here in the state of Maine, but particularly right here in the central Maine market. If that's of interest to you or adds value to your process in the buying and selling of homes, do me a favor, go ahead and hit the like button on this video, hit subscribe, knock that little alarm bell. You'll be notified every time we put out new content. All right, I want to jump right into new listings, bringing up new listings that came on during the month of January as we head into the month of February. 80 new listings. Now, for the first time in a long time, really nothing to see here, which is great. We're actually a little bit back to normal, almost exactly the same amount of listings that we had added in January 2022. We had 79 last year, 80 this year. Looks like that seasonal flux that was there a year ago is here this year as well. It is good news because it's more listings than the month before. However, whether or not that plays into the overall active listings that are on the market, current inventories, has yet to be seen. We're going to get into that in just a little bit. All right, I want to jump right over to pending sales. These are homes that are currently in escrow. There's contracts on the home. We presumably want to think that they're moving from active into the sold category. But over the last few months, if you recall, there's been a lot fewer sales here in the central Maine market, and that's been driven by month after month. We're seeing smaller and smaller numbers in the pending sales. So fewer and fewer homes actually going under contract, which has been, by the way, the driving force of the increased inventory on the market, that and a little bit of an increase in the market time. But with fewer homes going under contract, longer market times, that's been driving the higher inventories, which has been giving a little bit of a window of opportunity for buyers in the market. But let's take a look at this and see what's going on now. All right, pending listings, 70 homes under contract in the month of January. Big jump from the month before. Not really a surprise. However, it is scaled back, as you can see from this graph right here, quite a bit from where we were a year ago. So certainly not seeing that same kind of activity. But as I always say, I don't like to look at just the numbers. They don't always mean anything in particular year over year. We want to look at the trend line, and the trend here is post-holidays, big uptick in homes going under contract, and that's what we've been saying, buyers coming back to the market, taking advantage of some of the lower rate opportunities that have been out there, as well as some of those higher inventories. So let's bring it from this right over into sold listings. I'm gonna bring that up right here. Sold listings during the month of January, 84. So no big jump, not surprised. Remember, we've had fewer pending contracts. We saw last month there was only 43 homes that went into escrow here in the central Maine market in Kennebec County. Coming out of that, not surprised, but look, maintaining an incredibly steady flow. So we've had, a few more homes coming to market than we had the month before, but we've had a big jump in the pending contracts. Keeping easy with sales, what's that doing to overall active inventory? We're gonna bring this chart right up here, 217 active listings. For the first time in a bit, you can see trending downward. Inventory squeezed once again. Now this is very interesting because one of the things we've been talking about, particularly to you buyers out there over the last few months, is rates are lower, there's opportunities in the market. I'm not saying the opportunities are gone, but if this trend continues, we could be headed towards a very competitive spring market like we were a year ago. Because it's in here is another squeeze of inventory. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out this month. Do we have more homes coming to market? I would suggest we probably will. I would think that there's some sellers, if you want to get ahead of the curve, get out there, take advantage of the fact that there are buyers, obviously, by the pending numbers, coming back to the market, taking advantage of the interest rates right now, and getting the activity out there. If you want to take advantage of that early activity, coming to the market during the month of February would not be a surprise. I have a few listings already lined up myself. I know other agents do too. So I would expect the pending sales and the new listings both to continue to increase over this coming month. That would translate naturally into closed sales in the following month. What that does to inventory is going to depend on the contracts. So it's going to depend on, do we have more people going under contract? Are they closing those sales? What are the contingency periods looking like? Because as we just saw, we might get more listings and sales might stay steady, but if more homes are going under contract again, then that inventory number can shrink, and that is going to have a big impact on the pricing, because at the end of the day, as we always say here, supply and demand is always going to drive the pricing on these homes, along with the interest rates, obviously. But if that demand continues to tick up and if that supply does not go with it, I would suggest that we probably are going to get a bit more competitive once again headed towards the spring. All right, so let's take a look at some of these other numbers. We're gonna look at supply, pricing, time on market, really give you the full rounded out picture, and then bring it on home with the median pricing here in Kennebec County. So I wanna look at supply first, because obviously we just saw a tightening of the overall active inventory. Remember last month we saw a huge jump in the supply numbers, and months of supply again being, if you were to take all of the homes that were on the market now, bring nothing else to the market, and just simply sell what we have, how long would it take to sell? A lot of time last year, it was less than 1 month of inventory, balanced market between buyer's market, seller's market, 6 months of inventory, so keep that in mind. Bringing up the chart. For the month of February, you can see it here, 1.41 months of supply, so less than 1.5 months of supply. Obviously, you can see it's more than we've had for a lot of the last year, but it's also a big trend downward after we just saw that trend going the opposite direction that was giving buyers that opportunity. And when I say this stuff, I'm not saying that there's not going to be opportunities for buyers in the market. I think there still is. Sellers that are on the market now want their homes sold. They are negotiating, as long as it's not totally ridiculous. You know, contingency periods are back, different types of financing are back, closing costs are back on the table. So there's a lot of advantages still out there. But I would suggest now, by looking at some of this data, if you are a buyer, this is a great time to get in, because as it gets more competitive, if it continues to trend this way, then we're going to have another spring market that I think is going to be pretty hot and competitive like it was a year ago. Bringing up days on market, average days on market here in Kennebec County, 38 days. Obviously a jump from our tightest points where we were last summer, where things were only on for, you know, a week or two. But really, if you look, less market time than a year ago. So I think this dispels a lot of the myth, by the way, when people are looking at houses, and we've kind of got ourselves deluded into thinking that every home should sell in a day or two. So, you know, every now and again, I'll get a call from an agent saying, like, what's going on with this house? I see it's been a few weeks. It's like, yeah, it's been a few weeks. You know, in that neighborhood, the average days might be 60 days on market. I have a neighborhood that I was just looking at that was the case. So you really want to understand that there is time in the market. It's not crazy like it was when you had to get in and put 20 offers in for a few days. But I am seeing some of that coming back, and we'll get into that in a little bit. If you're a seller, keep that in mind. If the home's in the market for a couple of weeks, don't panic. Average days on market, a little bit more than a month. So that should be roughly where your timing is. Obviously, you want to niche down into your neighborhood, into your town, things like that. Work with your real estate professional when you're getting your home listed to set those expectations. If you're a buyer, it means you probably have a little bit of time, but also I've seen homes sit on the market for about this amount of time, and then all of a sudden there's 2 or 3 offers on the home. So if you really like the home, don't just assume that it's going to be there when you come back around and are ready to put in the offer. Last thing I want to bring up here is the sale to list price ratio. Sale to list price ratio, how much of a percentage of the list price are the homes on average selling for? 97.7%. As you can see, last month it was 98%, so a slight dip from the month before, but homeowners are averaging about 98% of the list price. And this brings a good opportunity to talk to sellers. If you're a seller in the market and you're thinking about pricing your home, understand that most people right now on the market are getting a little bit less than what they're asking for. However, sellers that are pricing a little bit more competitively, if you're looking at a scale and, you know, we might tell you that your home is worth between, you know, 240 and 260, you might not go right to 260. Maybe you go to the lower end of that scale, show some value in the market, and produce a larger result. And we're seeing some of that coming back, by the way, where homes are getting a little bit more competitively priced, meaning on the lower end, driving people back to a multiple offer scenario, working out for actually more money for the seller than potentially had they listed at a higher price and then taken a little bit less off the top of that price. As you can see from these numbers, a lot of sellers are. Last but not least, I want to bring up the median pricing for the homes sold here in Kennebec County, about $236,000 over the last month. A little bit of a dip. You saw some pricing go down. Some of that is probably coming from the fact that we are seeing sellers take a little bit of a haircut off the top, that 97.7% sale to list price ratio, driving some of that. It'll be interesting to see where that goes over the coming months as it gets a little bit more competitive, seeing how people respond with their pricing strategies as they bring homes to the market. But overall, if you look over the last year, the big story here is that pricing, very, very consistent. Yes, there was an uptick. Yes, we're down a little bit now from where we were at its peak. But overall, when you look at this graph, very, very consistent, and I think this is what we're going to see over the next year. I can't tell you if it's going to go up a ton. I don't think we're really going to go down much more than where we're at now. I think we'll see some slight appreciation, maybe some overheated areas, some overheated regions. Particular markets might see a slight decline in the pricing, as we've seen over the last couple of months in certain areas. But overall, I would expect to see what we're seeing here, a little bit more of the same that we've been seeing over the last year. So that is it. That is the big market update for the month of February as we head into this late winter market. And again, some of the main recaps I want to bring here. If you're a seller and you're coming to the market, one of the most important things you can do now is really look at the pricing strategy. When you sit down with your real estate agent, talk to them, have them explain where they're coming up with the price range. Look at the other homes that are in the market that are going to be competing against you. Find the area of value. Go into that gap and try to squeeze a little bit more. Obviously, you still want to make sure, have your professional photos, talk about your marketing strategy. Is it going to be on social media? Maybe you do some video. Open houses are definitely making a comeback and being very, very effective. I just saw another one this last weekend, saw another one the weekend before last. So keep that in mind. You want to have your strategies tight and you want to be on top of it with your pricing game. And if you do that, you're still going to make out very, very well. Still, obviously, what we consider to be a seller's market. If you are a buyer in the market, some of the big takeaways are here. Homes are on the market a little bit longer, as they have been over the last few months, but the market's starting to heat up. So please don't take for granted that the home you're looking at is always going to be there. And in fact, the earlier you get your offer in, the better off you might be, because if you wait, you might find yourself in a competitive situation. So just an example, let's say you go in, the home's been on the market for a couple of weeks, you really, really like it, you're quite sure you want to put an offer on the home, but you're kind of just testing the waters, seeing if the house is going to sit a little bit longer, maybe you can get a better deal. All of a sudden, you go back 2 weeks later, you go to put in an offer, but now there's 2 other buyers that are interested because you've hit that average market time. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at the homes. Keep in mind that a lot of homes are selling at about 98% of the list price, so there is a little bit of room to negotiate there. But don't get ridiculous. Sellers are definitely not giving away the farm, and I don't think they're going to be anytime soon. All right, so if you are in the market now, if you are in the market, maybe you've been in the market, are you thinking about coming to the market? Would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What are your comments? Definitely, what are your predictions? Go ahead, drop a comment below. You know, I always love to hear from you there. If you are in the market and you're thinking about either buying or selling, you're looking for a real estate professional to work with, or maybe you just want somebody to pick their brain, run through some numbers, see if the situation even makes sense for you, go ahead and reach out to me. All of my contact information is linked in the post below. I promise if you reach out, I'll get right back to you. Of course, as always, I thank each and every one of you for sticking around to the end of this video. And until the next one, see you next time.